Hello everyone, I am Mohammed. I am your Egyptologist guide. I'm not that Egyptologist guide, by the way. Not the guy in the Indiana Jones hat. I think you have seen his movies. And I worked with him, by the way. And after studying Egyptology for 20 years, and it doesn't give you the answers you're seeking, the symbolism, the philosophy, the deeper meaning, the connection, which, by the way, you can't help feeling around the temple, even if you are the most close, to it. And I think the deal breaker for me when you find a mummy and the book says it's only 4,000 years, and you do the DNA and carbon dating, and it says it's 55,000 years old, it makes you wonder about things. So I have a different approach toward this, and I have been looking for someone to tell me the answers. There's a lot of fake people out there, mostly, dancing naked or half naked around the temples and connect to aliens. I found those guys and I harassed them enough until they let me in, and
We begged him.
Great.
I'm Susan, I'm a geologist, and everything here is built out of rocks. And it's not so much, it's just rocks, it's what kind of rocks, what the properties of the rocks are, and how the Egyptians used them and what they used them for. And also I have a big interest in archaeoastronomy.
I'm Patricia. I've lived here in Egypt going on 12 years now. I've been studying esoteric metaphysical sciences all of my life. I've been obsessed with Egypt since I was yay high. That's a whole story in and of itself. I came here to meet Abdel Hakim Alian, and any of you that have seen The Pyramid Code by Carmen Bolter might be familiar with him. He is the elder that wears the galabeah that provided so much wisdom. I came here and he was my teacher to begin with, because everything he resonated, everything that he spoke about resonated with everything I'd already studied. I look at, as I said, the metaphysical aspects. I will talk to you about the netters, which are the pantheon of gods and goddesses, which were not seen the way we see gods and goddesses today. They were actually called netters because they're natures, they're forces of nature. And the ancients here knew how to not only perceive and feel the forces of nature, but they could also harness them, and this is how they erected these structures. So I'll talk about, what's happening within the structure, the foundation, why they built things aligned the way they did, and also about the mythologies and the symbolism. I've been studying this here for, as I said, the last almost 12 years. So I'll have lots to share about that, especially as we go through the temples. I'll leave the rest to Brian.
No, there's Corby.
Oh, Courtney.
Corby.
Hey, well, sorry I'm late, but
That's okay.
I am in my 23rd year working at NASA JPL, but I'm in my 51st year of studying subjects like Atlantis. When I was 19, I was on the famous expedition that made the news around the world. 1973 was Atlantis discovered off of Spain, and later Paul McCartney and Wayne sang about this in the song Spirits of Ancient Egypt. I made this shirt and a couple of new business cards that talk about this to back up what I'm saying. All the newspaper clippings. Gail Casey was there. And that should maybe pique your interest, and we can talk about it later.
Great.
Awesome.
Well, I'm Brian, and I've got a YouTube channel. I had no idea when I started it. I just thought, I was actually in New Jersey visiting my wife's family, and I just thought, maybe I could make a YouTube video. And her niece said, yeah, that'd be a fun idea. Now 75 million views. It's just crazy. But my wife couldn't be here because we have puppies. But she says, thank you for being brave with all of this coronavirus crap that's going on. So thank you all for not bending to,
And for everybody.
yeah, to all of you. When I got to the Lima airport, it was at maybe 20% capacity. And then I got to Madrid, and it was almost completely vacant. And so it's just like, and then everybody's, using hand sanitizers in the plane and stuff like that. It's just like, whoa, get me out of here. But this is, you know, I have to, this is my 8th yearly trip, and this is by far the finest team of people, because we have a real Egyptologist, not somebody who's going to tell you necessarily that, you know, they can't explain away the megalithic stuff at all. You can't cut hard stone with bronze tools. And the funniest thing is when engineer Christopher Dunn proved that on TV, he went on a bunch of shows and he had a bronze chisel and he had a chunk of granite and he whacked the granite once and it bent the chisel. And so immediately some academics came up with an explanation, because they have to have an answer to everything. So they said, well, there were 1,000 skilled men lined up with a giant bench, and every time one of the chisels bent, then they would have somebody sharpen it and put it back in the assembly line. It's like, oh, there's logic for you. But I've only met Muhammad once. This is my first trip with him. He's a man of great honor, great wisdom. Susan has been pivotal at being able to specifically figure out where the stone comes from. Because again, what we're going to see is we're going to see relatively soft stone, we're going to see sandstone, and we're going to see limestone. Those are the materials of the dynastic people. That's why, to some degree, we're starting in the south, because you'll see a lot of beautiful dynastic work. And then as we approach the Giza Plateau, the pyramids don't fit in with the picture. They look very foreign. And they're supposed to be the oldest construction. They're the most sophisticated, and they're the oldest construction. Doesn't make sense. So Susan's been, you know, the academics in general don't consult with other academics. Like, they don't consult with geologists and say, what kind of granite is this? Where did it come from? But Susan's figuring this stuff out. It's not all from one. It could be from the Eastern Desert as well. So the idea that, well, they floated the stuff, you know, on a barge or something down the Nile. It's like, how did they get it across the desert, you know, from Sinai? These are the simple questions you have to ask. And the sense of scale we're going to see. Hopefully this time we'll spend more than 5 minutes at the Colossi of Memnon, because the figure on the left is 720 tons, and it's one piece of stone on a 300-ton block. And the quarry is 400 miles away. And Aswan's about 500 miles. We'll get to see the unfinished obelisk, and it's not just its scale, but it's the fact that suddenly they gave up on it for some reason. And the other thing is the terrain is very complicated, so it's not just how are they shaping it, but how are they planning on getting it out of the pit? You know, you only have to ask really simple questions to get the profoundness. And then Patricia, with the metaphysics and the spirituality and the energy and the ley lines and all of the components we talk about interlock with one another. So we're all giving aspects that fit into a puzzle of wholeness, which is what's important. So you don't generally get that with tours, and that's why we've set up this team. So thank you all for being brave and for coming. Bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, pleasure.
Want to introduce you to Muhammad. He's my nephew. It's Muhammad Aliyan, and he's also the grandson of Abdel Hakim Aliyan.